Hey guys, Paul here. So today I wanted to talk about a bit of a small issue that I've seen a little in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I know that's kind of become a bit of a buzzword, but just bear with me, I promise. So this is actually about Yu-Gi-Oh's recent sets being very low value and just hard to sell, and it's kind of had an effect on card shops. So I saw this post on Reddit where somebody was kind of talking about their own personal experience. I feel like recent sets, aside from like maybe one or two sets that had brief peak periods on release, have all been garbage. Market rates for the last few sets have plummeted so fast to the point that many local game stores are losing money and no longer want to carry Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. Um, so he feels like the last, decent mainline set was probably Power of the Elements, and he even goes on to say that one of the online stores he frequently buys from just released this notice where they are saying that they're going to be discontinuing Yu-Gi-Oh, products just because their costs the cost of the product literally exceeds the demand and like what they're able to sell it for. So yeah, that obviously really really sucks, and a lot of people had different sort of things to say about it. So I figured I would throw in my 2 cents. I brought up the last few sets that have come out up on TCG Player, so we can take a look at the prices and maybe get to the bottom of it. I can share my opinions and also get to you guys's. So we got to start with Legendary Duelist Soul Burning Volcano. This came out just this past week, and Legendary Duelist sets, just off the jump, are not really the most valuable sets. So that means that these were always going to be quite niche, right? Like if you are not interested in Salamangrates, Volcanics, or Battling Boxers, then this just from the jump is not the set for you. And it's cool, I think, as a set conceptually, right? Fire does not usually get a lot of support, and Salamangreat, at least, is a pretty popular, like, sort of beginner mid-range deck to learn with. It gets recommended a lot. And Volcanic is kind of a meme, thanks to Pain 96. But Battling Boxer is extremely, it's niche. And they've been doing this thing with the Legendary Duelist sets for a while now, where they throw in a Ghost Rare. So in this case, it's Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. But as you guys can see, things aren't looking great. Mostly in the sealed product category, first and foremost. So you can buy Legendary Duelist Soul Burning Volcano, a box which contains 36 packs of 5 cards each, for $35. That's really cheap for a Yu-Gi-Oh box. And it's a little bit, I'll explain why that's a problem, but like, just so you know, it's like, that's like the price, right? Like 34.94, 35.12, 35.50. It doesn't really even get to 40 for a while. Like you can get this set for very cheap, which is kind of cool. Like you could get this and it could be a lot of fun to open, but you can see why this would be a bit of an issue for a game store, because if you have to purchase this from like a retailer, they're going to be selling this at like the wholesale cost of maybe around like 45 to $50. That's what it usually is like for most card shops, just from my knowledge. And if your card shop, bought this set for like, let's say $50, then they're going to have to, sell it on the shelf for a box might be like $70. But clearly that's not really going to work because people can just buy it online for $35. And because this is already a really niche set, you can see why people just wouldn't buy this, and why then a card shop might simply decide, okay, well, people aren't buying these Yu-Gi-Oh things. I'm just not going to stock Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. It's simply unprofitable. And you can see in the price of singles why players probably don't buy these. Outside of needing to be interested in a fire archetype, even if you get a box, you have to pray. Even if you get a box for $35, that you pull like Salamangreat of Fire, which is a decent card, right? It's useful in Salamangreat, it's a searcher, and that's really good for them. But if you don't pull this, or a Ghost or a Sunlight Wolf, which like you can't really count on pulling that, if you don't pull this, I mean, you're really like you're not really getting great value out of this. And to this set's credit, and the Legendary Duelist sets in general, they actually are pretty generous with the pull rates. Like in a 36 pack box, you usually will get 11, 12, sometimes even 13 foils. Spoiler, that's what we got in our video. We got 13 foils. But if you don't get like Salamander to Fire as one of your ultra rares, you're working with like, $7 at the most. Some get, as low as like 3 or, $2 for some ultra rares. And that's just not really worth it. And like, I can see why a player wouldn't want to get it. So, and that's just Legendary Duelist. Now, the last Legendary Duelist set that released was Duelist from the Deep. It was a water one with like the Mako stuff, and that kind of suffered from the same problem, but at least it had a reprint of Forbidden Droplets in it. And this set really has no such thing. It does not have a reprint of like a staple chase thing. I think that could have been something worth throwing in here. I mean, Triple Tactics talent, perhaps. I don't know. I mean, it said something. But yeah, there's nothing like that in here. So unless you're actually like a fire duelist, this just is not really the set to get. Maybe let's move on then to the latest mainline set, Duelist Nexus. And this to me is actually where the bigger problem lies. Whereas like legendary duelist sets are never really going to be the most popular thing, a green duelist set is supposed to sort of signify, a new era for Yu-Gi-Oh! Rise of the Duelist in 2020 introduced Dogmatica, and that was like Nadir's Servant, Triple Tactics Talent, also Forbidden Droplet came in there. All three of those spells hovered at around $100 for a really long time. They're very high value spells where like you wanted to get these packs and boxes and stuff so that you could hopefully pull one of them. But not even only that, there's like Ice Dragon's Prison, there was like Shaddoll Schism, Dogmatica Fleur de Lis, and Ecclesia were both in there. So it was just all around like a set that you needed to get. This is a different story. So in this set, Duelist Nexus, you can see box prices are already not super great. You can, get it for $52, which might be a steal if you're like kind of just into opening packs. But there's really only one super chase card in here, and it's not even one that's really broadly appealing. It's Revolution Synchron, which, as we know, is a pretty good card if you want to play like a dedicated synchro strategy. This one can really help. There's a lot of different combo decks that can do some pretty wild stuff with this card, and it is $60, right? So that's pretty cool. If you were to $50 maybe. But if you were to pull this card out of your box, then it and like literally any other secret would be a pretty nice deal. If this will load here, yeah. So that'd be pretty good. But the problem is, it's these quarter century rares. First of all, kind of pad out this pack rarity wise and makes it a little bit harder to discern because I don't know what the exact pull rate for these is. It's obviously not one in every box, that's for sure. It might be like one in half a case. I don't know. I don't take my word for it. But these kind of make up the bulk of the price of these cards because outside of Revolution Synchron, I think the next highest secret rare card in this set is okay, ultra rare Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, $20. That's okay. Crimson Dragon's like 12, Dark Corridor is like 12, and then it kind of just gets to like drop off to not really useful territory. It just means that overall this is not a great set to get. And I think that could be fine for some sets, but like it's a green duelist set, you kind of expect more. And that doesn't bode well for like mainline sets, at least in the eyes of a card shop. All right, let's look at one more set. So this is the last legendary duelist set. It's Wild Survivors. So obviously you've got your collector's rare cards, which always tend to fetch a pretty nice price. Collector's rares are really pretty. But once we get past the collector's rares that, pad this out, the highest ultra rare, if I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, here's one. Sorry, before I get to him. There is Ground Zeno. That's a pretty good card. It's worth $30. So really good Dino Ultra. Cool. If you get that, that's pretty nice. But then it's like Vanquished Soul Raisin, which is $14. And like it doesn't really get any better from there. Now, granted, the Vanquished Souls are a pretty cool archetype, so pulling cards like that is great, and they do have a lot of ultras. So if you pull ultras, it's probably going to be one of them. So they're like retaining decent value. And to this set's credit, deck builder set archetypes tend to be pretty functional out of the box. That's just if you can pull them, but functional out of the box, and that the strategies work. They get support over time. They can be pretty good investments. They usually end up being strong meta contenders, and already we've seen Vanquished Soul get some success. But here's the issue, right? It's kind of like the Legendary Duelist problem where this is still a pretty niche product. If you aren't interested in the 3 decks that are here, then you just wouldn't buy it. Like a normal player walking in a shop would know if they want Wild Survivors or not for the most part. And in addition to that, once they've bought like enough Wild Survivors to, have their fill, they're not going to buy more of it, and it's going to sit on shelves. If a card shop happened to order a lot of it, they might be disappointed when players just simply are not purchasing it. And it really sucks, but it is the honest truth. It can happen. I've seen this at a lot of shops. People don't want these packs, and that's kind of the end of it. So, with all that in mind, what's it mean, right? I think that there's 2 solutions to this problem, and one is on Konami, and one is on the players, and it involves a bit of a hot take. So on Konami's part, they got to do a little bit better. They got to make better sets. I think that if they're going to do these legendary duelist sets, they do need to continue the trend of putting like some valuable staple reprints in them. I don't think that that's going to, entirely fix the problem, but it at least makes them somewhat worth opening. It's a shame that, pull rates on the deck builder sets are so low. That's something I actually forgot to mention, but like with these deck builder sets, one box gets you like 3, maybe 4 ultra rares. The pull rates in those are terrible. That really needs to improve. But yeah, in the legendary duelist category, I think that we got to have better reprints. I think that also The like stuff like Wild Survivors could still use better reprints. They have more, like, this latest one, what's it got? Like Fossil Dig, there can be only one. Overraptor, those all get rarity upgrades. Not the best. I think they could have gone for more widely appealing staples. I don't know why like there can be only one really needs collector's rare. But yeah, for those, that's going to kind of be the thing. They're always going to be hampered by how much people are interested in them. I think, though, Duelist Nexus is a bigger issue because it's a mainline set, and I think they just completely dropped the ball. There should have been at least a new pot card or, like, some new powerful spell staple, powerful trap staple. It's looking better for Age of Overlord, but I totally see why card shops just, cannot, like, would feel like they don't want to stock these sets. Now, here's the sort of hot take I have, but I don't think it's actually like a negative thing. I think it's just something to keep in mind. It's easy to get very jaded about Yu-Gi-Oh packs if you're just on the internet a lot, like buy singles, buy singles, buy singles. These packs suck. They're all a scam. It's all a gamble. And that can all be true, but I think my advice to players, and just, take a deep breath and like listen to me before you completely judge. Sometimes it can help a lot to just buy packs yourself. I know a lot of people swear by just never buying packs. They don't want to get into Konami's evil trap, right? But I think what you should actually do sometimes is go to your local game store and just buy a pack or two. Buy a pack or two of a set that you're not super interested in. Buy a couple packs of like Soul Burning Volcano or Wild Survivors. Even if you don't really know what's in it or like care to pull anything, try not to view it from the lens of like, oh, I need to buy like a whole box, and like if I don't make my money back, it's a scam, so I should just never buy packs ever again. Just buy like one after work, right? Or one, on the weekend of the tournament. And here's what I challenge you to do. You buy a pack, if you pull nothing, that sucks, whatever. It only costs maybe $3 or $4. Don't think about it. But then maybe next week when you buy another pack, just one, again, just one or two, however much you can afford, then maybe, just maybe, you will pull that ultra rare card. It might not be the most valuable ultra rare card, but because you didn't spend that much, it's kind of cool that you pull it and it might feel special. And then you might actually decide to build one of the decks that you pulled the ultra rare from. So if you happen to just randomly pull a Vanquish Soul card, then you could decide to build Vanquish Souls. Or maybe a more relevant example might be Nuvels or Volcanics or even Battling Boxers, because those decks are cheap, and it means that you don't have to pull everything from the packs, but rather you just buy the packs enough to support your LGS, and then you can decide maybe, hey, I'll always have a little bit of fun, like build this deck I didn't know anything about. It requires having a bit of an open mind and I guess a bit of an open wallet. But I think that it's the best that we can do as players to just at least remember that while not every pack is going to be a competitive home run and it's not always going to be aimed at us, sometimes it can just be fun to open the packs yourself and sort of see where it takes you and do something with it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this conundrum. If you've been having any issues at your local card shop with the pack prices and demand and all that just not lining up. Hopefully this isn't a continuing trend. I'm sure Konami's at least maybe aware of it, and maybe they'll do something about it. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think. So let me know down in the comments. It's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.